Welcome back to this course on the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner. So in this chapter, we're going to go through the Elastic Compute Cloud Service. We're actually going to build our first virtual server on the cloud. So this is a web service that allows you to provision servers. Here you can create Linux or Windows-based servers. You have full control over the servers once they're created. You can select the specifications of the machine that you want. So using the Elastic Cloud Compute Service, you can provision a server within a matter of minutes. Again, a quick comparison over an on-premise deployment versus cloud. So let's say, for example, you wanted to build a virtual server in your on-premise infrastructure. So you will probably first, purchase something known as a blade server. You will put up on racks. And then on top of the physical server, you would install something known as a hypervisor. So the hypervisor is a software that works with the underlying hardware of the physical server. It's a light OS. And on top of this, you will actually start building your virtual machines. Now, obviously, it does take some time to, first procure the physical server, build the hypervisor, build the virtual machines and deploy it. Using the Elastic Cloud Compute Service, the physical server and the hypervisor is maintained by AWS. So it's already there. You can use the Elastic Cloud Compute Service to start directly building the virtual VMs. So let's, with the AWS console, step by step build our first virtual server. Some key things to note is that first you should remember the region you are in. So let's go to our AWS console. Right, so here we are in the AWS console. So here we are in the Singapore region. So we're going to build our EC2 server in the Singapore region. Let's go on to the compute service. If you've recently visited any service, it will come in the recently visited services section. So you can click either one. You can go on to the compute and the EC2 section. So currently we have 0 running instances. We can go ahead and launch our first instance. Now the next thing is to choose the type of operating system that you want. Do you want a Windows Server 2012 or 2016 image? Or do you want a Linux flavor such as Ubuntu, Red Hat or Amazon Linux? So these are pre-built images. They are known as AMIs, Amazon Machine Images. So you would actually build a virtual server out of these images. So let's go back to the console. So here we are in the console. So here we can see that after we've clicked the launch instance button, we get the screen where we're presented with the different Amazon machine images. So now you can choose if you want a flavor of Linux or if you want a Windows image. So there are different images available to you. So let's go on ahead and choose an Ubuntu server. Again, you can choose any AMI you want. Next, you need to choose the instance type. So this is the number of CPUs and the amount of memory that you want for your virtual server or your EC2 instance. So there are these different classifications or instance type, as you would call them. Each instance type has some particular features. For example, the number of CPUs it has, the amount of memory. Some of them are also having better network performance. So here you can see the network performance of that particular instance type. So again, here you can note that the T2 micro is part of the free tier eligibility. So remember that if you want to remain free, so you don't want to be charged for the initial 750 hours, then you have to choose this instance type. Now obviously if you want a higher capacity, let's say you want a T2 medium, which has 2 CPUs and 4 gig of memory, then you can choose this instance type, but note that then you will be charged. So for now, let's go ahead and just go with our T2 micro instance type. Next, you need to specify the place where the instance needs to be located in. So that's the virtual private cloud network and the subnet. So once we're done with the instance type, we can go on to next to configure the instance details. Now here you need to specify what's the VPC, so the virtual private cloud network, in which the instance should be located in, and the subnet. Let's for the moment leave it in the default VPC, and the subnet can be decided by AWS. You can choose to launch more instances at the same time. We leave the rest of the behavior as it is. We're just going for the basics of how to create an EC2 instance. Next, you need to specify the amount of storage that you want to add to the EC2 instance. By default, you get a root volume which is added to the EC2 instance. Remember that you can also add storage at a later point in time. So after creating the virtual server, you can create storage and add it to the server when the instance is in the running state as well. So it's not necessary that you need to add the storage right now. So we can go on next to add the storage. So here you can see you already get one root volume which is part of the EC2 instance. Here you have the delete on termination flag. So this volume will be deleted when the instance is terminated. So if you want to add a new volume, you can do so. You can choose the size that you want. You can choose the delete on termination flag. If you want this, this volume to persist even after the instance is terminated, then make sure this is not checked. Next, you can encrypt the volume. So when you encrypt the volume, the data at rest on the EBS volume will be encrypted. So let's add a storage of 12 GB. And let's go on next to add tags. Tags are used to provide metadata about your instance, so what your instance is about. So for example, let's say you wanted to give a name to this particular server. Let's say you're hosting a web application. So you can name it as web server. So you can give a key of name and a value of web server. These tags come in very useful when it comes to costing as well. So these are future aspects that you will actually learn when you go for further certifications on AWS. Next, we need to configure the security groups for the instance. Now we have a separate chapter on security groups, but basically this is used to control traffic to your instances. So let's go on next to configure the security group. We can use an existing security group or create a new one. For the purpose of this lecture, let's create a new security group. Let's give it a group name and a description. Let's leave the type, protocol, port range, source, everything as it is. I said this is used to control the traffic into your instance, and we have a separate chapter on this. So let's just go on to the review and launch. Now here you can review all the settings. If you want to change something, you can change it, and then you can go ahead and launch your instance. Now in order to complete the procedure, you need to create something known as a key pair. The key pair is used to securely log in to your instance. So I already have a key pair already created. If you want, you can create a new key pair. So when you create a new key pair, give a name for the key pair. So download the key pair and make sure that this key pair is kept in a safe location, because I said this is used to log into your instance. If you lose the key pair, then you will have a problem logging into the instance. Once this is done, you can actually then go ahead and launch the instance. Right, and then you can go on to view instances, and then in the dashboard you will be able to see your web server being launched. It's now in the running state, so you can see how quickly the server was launched. It is currently doing some status checks. So this is some internal status checks being done by Amazon to make sure that everything is okay with the web server instance. Let's just wait a moment or two. Let's wait for the status checks to be complete and then come back. So now our instance is currently in the running state. All the checks are done. So this just took a couple of minutes. That's it. So now in order to actually log into the instance, if you want to use PuTTY, the first thing you need to do is that you need to take the key pair which you've actually saved and create a key file that will be used to log into the instance. So let's go on and first load the key file. Once you've loaded the key file, it will say that it's successfully imported the foreign key. You can click OK. The next thing is to go ahead and save the private key. If you want to add a paraphrase, if you want, you can, but I'm not going to do that at the moment. I'm just going to save the key as it is. Now I have PuTTY open. Now in order to log into PuTTY, go on to the authentication section. Browse for the key file which you created in the earlier step using PuTTYGen. And then go on to the session. Now you can take either the public DNS name or the public IP. Let's take the public IP of the server. Let's click on open. Let's click on yes to accept the key. Now we are present with the login screen. So the default username for the Ubuntu AMI is Ubuntu. And you can see within a couple of minutes, you have a virtual server on the cloud and Ubuntu server. So you've seen how easy it is to use this EC2 service to create virtual servers on the cloud. I do advise to create different flavors. So depending upon the type of instance you want, choose the AMI, choose the default options as we go along, choose the settings for the instance. It can be as simple as what we've done in our earlier steps, and then create the virtual server, log into the server, and you can just see it's just like any other server that you would have on an on-premise location. So do practice with using the EC2 service. For now, this marks the end of this chapter. Let's move on to the next chapter in this course.